Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pucks and Brews, episode 70. We are back very shortly after the very nice episode of episode number 69, but I am your host, Michael Shade Sparacino, alongside, as always, Liam, the Chellmaster Godimer. And like I said, we are back very shortly after our last episode because as soon as we stop recording, what happens? Chaos. Liam, how
Isn't
are
that
you?
always isn't that always what happens, Shades?
Yeah, but last episode especially, because within 24 hours, two big trades happen, and we're just like, of course.
Yeah. And we'll get to those two big trades, but Shades, it's always great to be here with you talking some hockey and it's definitely been an interesting last couple of weeks in the NHL, and we're really turning the tide after the midseason break here and going towards the playoffs, so it should be fun.
And definitely the last couple days because of everything we just mentioned. And we haven't even gotten into the thick of things yet. But since we're New York Jets fans, not just New York Rangers fans, coach and staff coming together,
Yep.
I like it so far. I like it so far.
Here's what I'll say. I've liked all the coaching staffs that we brought together in the last few years. I thought
Besides
Todd
Adam
Bowles
Gase.
looked great. Adam Gase, when his eyes started moving in the press conference, sometimes you just know. But outside of Gase, I was relatively excited for every new coach that came in, especially Sala, with the work that he did previously as the DC, right, in San Francisco, place where he's back as the defensive coordinator, right? But yeah, we bring in oh God,
Aaron Glenn,
Aaron
baby.
Glenn. Yep, Aaron Glenn. I don't know any of the defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators that were brought in, but we just need good leadership and we just need a fired up locker room. And I think more than anything, that's what Aaron Glenn is going to do. He's going to infuse energy into a lifeless Jets franchise, which is important.
Yeah, and I'm no expert, and I'm honestly neither one of us are football
I am not.
experts, but
Yeah.
I do like the mix of veteran coaching with some hopeful young up and comers. So
Yep. Right on. Hopefully it'll be a 7-9 season for the Jets instead of 6-10. Well, 17 weeks now, right?
17.
Okay. Hopefully it'll be 7-10 instead of 6-11.
I mean, in a perfect world, we'd go 17 and 0 and go 20 and 0 and win a Super Bowl, but it's the Jets. That's not happening.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah, but yeah, that's something to be excited about so
Yeah.
far. But all right, let's start this off, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, so first and foremost, we do have an updated sort of situation on the Utah Hockey Club name. Not only did they release the final three names like officially now, but we have a logo, albeit an unfinished one, uncolored one, but at least I think, but we have we have logos with the Mammoth, the Outlaws, and the Hockey Club. And I gotta admit the logo for the Hockey Club kind of goes hard.
It does kind of go hard.
Yeah.
It does. I've seen all three logos. I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
The
by the way,
Outlaw
cheers.
one, oh, yes. Cheers. The Outlaw one, I believe, was taken from NHL 25. It's kind of a carbon copy, the logo. You
Yeah, I
just,
saw that joke.
if you try and create a team and you choose the Outlaws, that's kind of what the logo was. I thought the Mammoth was cool too. It was nice to see the tooth kind of, both teeth, I should say, hanging out there and making a prominent presence. But
That
it's going to be a
reminded me
tough
of Ice
choice.
Age.
What did you say?
That reminded me of Ice Age when I saw that.
Yeah, yeah, Ice Age. Yeah, very reminiscent for sure. But my choice is still the Mammoth. But I think that the Utah Hockey Club has put together three good logos, and at the end of the day, I think the fans are going to get the name that they want. So,
Yeah, I Outlaws is my favorite name. Hockey Club is my favorite logo out of the three.
okay, gotcha.
You gotta admit, it does go hard.
It does go hard, yeah. But I just,
Like unnecessarily hard, but I like it.
I kind of just think, I mean, it's been the norm, right? Just to have a theme, like it just would be a little bit meh to me if they were just named Hockey Club. But then again, that's after the European model with soccer. And again, we see almost every soccer team called football club or have that at the end. So maybe it'll stick. Who knows?
I also just love how every time there's a football club team name, everyone just automatically knows it's soccer.
Yep.
It works for soccer though, because they actually have the thing right before it and not, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. But again, Three good options, and for me, I would choose the Mammoth, Outlaws, and Hockey Club last. For me, the logo doesn't do enough to outweigh the lack of excitement that comes with the name. That's what I'd say.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Also, shout out to Paul Maurice 400 or excuse me, 900 coaching wins. So, completely unrelated.
Paul Maurice, I mean, he's one of the head coaches that got away, right? He left Winnipeg or Winnipeg, I believe, fired him. Maybe it was mutual.
Yeah, that was more of a mutual, but I think he wanted to leave because he felt like his message was getting lost on the locker room.
There you go. Then he goes to Florida, and then he ends up winning a Stanley Cup. So 900 career wins as a coach. I mean, not many bench bosses are able to eclipse that mark. So Paul Maurice definitely deserves a tip of the cap, and he's one of the best head coaches in the league in our generation, I'd argue. And his son Jake does play-by-play for the Florida Everblades, so that's pretty neat as well.
Oh shit.
So I do have a bit of a connection with that too. So, but Jake and Paul, two great guys, and excited for Paul Maurice. 900 wins. That's nothing to scoff at all.
No, not at all. That's actually pretty goddamn impressive. And he's one of those coaches where he's very well respected across the entire league, even by his former teams.
Yes, 100%. And again, like you said, Shades, I think you put it really well. The situation in Winnipeg was really not one where the Jets had any interest in getting rid of the coach. I mean, if you go back, Pierre-Luc Dubois, was on those teams and, a couple of other, I wouldn't say head cases, but big personalities were in that locker room. And sometimes it's tough to get your message across when you're dealing with players like that. So, nothing against him for not being with the Jets anymore, but he has found a home with the Panthers, and I don't think, I mean, they are the top threat to the Stanley Cup to win it again. So, and Paul Maurice is a big part of that.
I just can't believe like they had Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers. I think Brian Little at the time was their second line center, and I'm missing one name, I believe, but their top six at one point was probably for a good 2 to 3 years the best top six in the league.
Well, because you had Ehlers and Connor and Scheifele and
Kyle Connor, my
Mulcahy
boy, that's who I
on the
forgot.
back end, and yeah, so that was a very good team. And really rose to the occasion before they all developed into superstars. And it makes you question, right? When you look at the Winnipeg Jets, I know they weren't a part of the topics for discussion for today's episode, but I will say it's just a good example that if you keep your young players together and if you're able to keep your head coach with the locker room, just what that could turn into. The Winnipeg Jets could be one of the best teams in the league year in and year out if they still had Paul Maurice, if Pierre-Luc Dubois, if things didn't get, blown up or blown out of proportion while he was there, so just goes to show you little decisions can alter history. And now we see Line A, doing really well
Yeah.
in Montreal and some of those other guys as well. Paul Maurice, great example, coaching in Florida, winning a Stanley Cup last year. So very interesting story. Just figured I'd touch on it.
Speaking of very interesting stories, Brandon Saad, who had 1 year after this left on his contract with the St. Louis Blues, gets sent down to the minors, and long story short, mutual contract termination. And of course, who does he sign with? The Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, Brandon Saad is a veteran forward in this league, and for St. Louis, where they were at, I think they had a new head coach coming in, right, with Jim Montgomery, and some players just aren't going to mesh well with the coach. I'm not speculating that that's what happened with Saad necessarily, but there's a lot of things that could go into it. And once you sent him down to the American Hockey League, you knew that that's where the relationship between the team and player would come to a close. And Shades, we were talking about it before the podcast. I mean, it doesn't surprise you or I that Vegas was the first team to snatch Brandon Saad up. And it's a good pickup. I like it.
Yeah, Vegas is never out of the running for anybody.
Never. Doesn't matter who it is.
No, it's actually pretty goddamn impressive. But he signs for a prorated 1.5 million through the end of the season. The contract itself, I believe, was signed on the 31st, so 3 days ago, as of the time of recording, because it's currently Monday, February 3rd. But yeah, that was another thing that like came to me during one of the Rangers games over the weekend. It's just like, wow, Vegas does not hesitate to make cutthroat decisions, and we do. So,
I thought there was no way last year that Vegas would acquire Tomas Hertl. And then what did they do? They called San Jose, division rival, albeit one that's in the basement, and acquired their superstar. And again, it just goes to show you you really put it best. They're not out of any player. And here with Brandon Saad, they bring in another guy, albeit a veteran, but he has playoff experience, really like none other in the league right now, outside of, some of the superstars on those Blackhawks teams, like, Patrick Kane. But outside of that, Vegas brought in a player that's going to help them deepen their postseason run for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, two cups with the Blackhawks in 3 years, and the first one was his rookie season back in 2012-13. So,
Yep. And yeah, like he's been in the league for 11, 12 years now, like that's not really too long, I would say that there's at least, 1 to 2 years more left in the tank. And if Vegas can get that out of them, I think they'd be thrilled. So
okay, in my personal opinion, if you can make it to age 35 in the league, I mean, you're doing better than 99.9% of the Earth's population. So,
right. And again, he got some good minutes there for Vegas when they traveled to Madison Square Garden to take on the Rangers yesterday. So he was noticeable out there.
yeah, we'll certainly get back to that. But another team that we need to hit upon right now is the New York Islanders, who are just picking up, at least on the surface, the most random players that can be, you know, put on their roster right now. And what happens? They win 7 games in a row because the NHL is insane like that.
Islanders are red hot right now, and I think they were beaten by the Florida Panthers last night. They were doubled up 6-3. They had American Hockey League goaltender in there. But yeah, a lot of things going on with the Islanders. And you're right, again, perfectly said, Shades. They're acquiring just random guys, right? Tony DeAngelo's contract terminated with SKA St. Petersburg out in Russia, and he goes and signs with the Islanders. Okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
another prorated one, 775,000.
Yep, and then Adam Boquist as well comes in, a player who struggled defensively but has some offensive skill to his game.
Yeah, he was originally a high draft pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. I remember that. And
Yep,
then they were in kind of a hurry to get rid of him.
yep, they were. I believe they got rid of him in the Seth Jones trade, right?
Oh, what a contract that turned out to be, huh?
Wow, both teams lose. How
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
kind of. Yeah,
Um,
both teams lose, aka Subban for Weber.
yeah,
One
yeah.
team won in the short term, one team won in the medium term, both teams lost in the long term.
100%, yeah. And Seth Jones, like you said, making $9.5 million. Cool little story, though, going back to the Islanders that Adam Boquist scored with Anthony Beauvillier's gloves the other night. So that's a cool story as well. And just one other note on the Islanders, and I'll let you get into it. Semyon Varlamov is out long term. So unfortunate to see that. He's been one of the more consistent goaltenders over the last several years. So hoping that he can get himself back healthy, but I'm sure Ilya Sorokin can lock things down. But hey, the Islanders are playing great hockey. You got to tip your cap. Maybe they'll make a run here. So
Hey, I mean, we've seen the St. Louis Blues go from literally dead last to winning their division and winning the Stanley Cup back in 2019. So, like I said, crazy shit has happened.
indeed, you never know. And again, the Islanders are a playoff team. So we'll see how they do if they're able to get themselves in there.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, we're Rangers fans. We hope not, but whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, last thing before we get to the trades. So, I'm assuming you've heard of the cap rumors. We might get a holy hell of a cap raise over the next 3 years.
Yes, yes, I did notice that. Yep.
Now, what is it currently at? 88 million?
I believe in the third year, so 26, 27 or 27, 28, it'll be up to 111, 113. So it's gonna make nearly a $25 million jump there, which is huge.
Yeah, all of a sudden, people aren't complaining about the the cap hit that was frozen for a few years there.
Well, go back what I told you last episode, right? We were talking about Will Borgen's contract. I said, yeah, was it 4.1 million?
I think so.
4.1 million seems like a lot of money, but you know what? With the cap going up, guess what? in year, he signed what, how long did he sign for? Morgan,
5 years, I
5 years,
believe.
26, 27, when the cap's at 113 million, $4.1 million per season is going to be like 1.8 million, like that we look at now. So, a steal of a contract. And in my opinion, I know you're not going to agree, but good on Drury for signing that deal before it came out that the cap was going to go up, because that could have pushed Morgan's price tag even higher, or anybody that the Rangers are trying to sign. Look at Lafreniere. I mean, I know he's had a down year, but you got him locked in at 8x8 and, 26, 27 season, an $8 million contract for Alexi Lafreniere, who you hope at that point is going to be a 75 to 80 point guy, is a steal of a deal. So the cap is a very good thing for our New York Rangers. It's a good thing for every team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, good for the league too. I mean, we've been praying that the cap was going to take this monumental rise, and
And it's
um,
going to.
I love how I was trying to pull a tweet up, and I went over to my bookmarks, and one tweet came up, and I was just like, what the hell? And I realized I was on the podcast account and not my personal one.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
But this is a good time to plug the podcast account.
at it's been a long ass time. At Pucks and Brews on Twitter.
I have a quote for you.
Hit
I
me.
think the New York Rangers are going to be looking for a third line center, and there are probably going to be some available. But what's the cost? We'll get to that as we go on. But again, trade deadline rumors swirling. Who knows what direction each of these teams will head in? But
This is also what happens when I love how I bookmark so many things and it's not the one that I want. Okay, cap's going up. Good shit, NHL.
I will find the tweet. Hold on. Here we go. Chris Johnston. The NHL and the NHLPA are forecasting significant salary cap bumps on the current $88 million ceiling in the coming years. It's a great time to be hitting free agency. 95.5 million next year. That is a $7.5 million increase from this season. 26, 27, it jumps $9 million to 104 million. 27, 28, as I mentioned, 113.5 million. So it's going up, and it's going up big time. And like you said, Shades, after the last few years where there was a little bit of a freeze there, or when it was going up in very small amounts. Now teams are going to be able to spend. And maybe, just maybe, teams like the Rangers are not going to be so cap strung when they are trying to keep their young players, which I think is a good thing for the league.
Yeah, and I still remember when they initially said it was going to be a frozen cap for 3 to 4 years minimum, and then 3 years in, oh, it went up a million. That's a good sign.
Right, right, exactly.
And now look where we are. Granted, these are still projections, but they look to be pretty good ones. And I believe, I forgot who said it, but it's probably the actual number is going to be announced at some point during the Four Nations tournament. So,
And I do want to mention something that combines with the Four Nations tournament and the salary cap. Do you remember when Austin Matthews signed his extension? Do you recall for how long he signed it for? He signed a 4-year deal so he could hit free agency during the 27-28 season. And he, in my opinion, unless McDavid gets there first, I think Austin Matthews is going to be the first $20 million player in the NHL. $20 million per season with the way that he's going. So
okay.
they are aiming, Shades, to hit free agency at this time. So we're going to see some exorbitant contracts. You know that 11.75 that all Ranger fans are going crazy about with Artemi Panarin?
It was pretty good at the time.
Was pretty good at the time. But again, the cap's going up, and that's a great thing for hockey, and I'll leave it there.
Yeah. All right, now we got to touch on these trades. First one, the one that
Here we
happened
go.
almost immediately
Yep.
after we recorded last week. Andrei Kuzmenko gets sent from the I almost said the Calgary Frames, the Calgary Flames. Jesus Christ.
They're a picture perfect hockey team, I'll tell you. Frames.
Yeah,
Perfect.
the Calgary Frames, they made their name because people used to frame picture. Okay, I'll stop. So basically, the Philadelphia Flyers made a trade with the I almost did it again. The Calgary Flames. Basically,
You okay?
I
All
I
right.
hope so. Yeah, here, more coffee.
All right, there you go.
There we go. The Calgary Flames trade Andrei Kuzmenko to the Flyers, and in exchange, they get both Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. And you want to know who else the Flyers get? Jacob Pelletier in a 2025 second and a 2028 seventh, because why not just throw a random seventh round pick in 3 years from now?
I uh I really don't like to get critical on the podcast because of course I work in hockey and
That's why we're here, Liam. Get critical.
Shades, this trade from the Philadelphia Flyers was flat out awful. Just awful. I mean, Andrei Kuzmenko has 15 points in 37 games. Yes, yes, I get it. He had a 74-point season in his first year in the NHL with the Canucks, 74 points in 81 games. He had 39 goals that year. He has not come close since then. Joel Farabee is a fantastic player. Morgan Frost, a young player that probably isn't in the good graces before he got moved with John Tortorella, which perhaps could have had an impact on this move. But this is a fleecing. I liked Andrei Kuzmenko his first year with the Canucks. I thought he was a nice player. But based on what he's put up, I just don't understand why Philadelphia would do this. Other than this, you hope that you put him with Matt Bay Mitchkov and you get some magic. That's it. But for me, I'm just not a fan of the deal. So what say you?
Oh yeah, this is a hell of a lot to give up from Philadelphia. I mean, you give up two young ascending players for a guy like you just said hasn't been the same player since he pretty much was on Vancouver. I mean, he did have that one good year in Calgary, but it's hasn't been good since. And the fact that, all right, look, they did give up a second and a seventh, Calgary. What? Holy crap! Yeah, that this is even more of a fleecing than you were giving it credit for.
Yeah, because there's draft picks involved too. And again, Morgan Frost is a player that has flip-flopped between the American Hockey League and the NHL level, no doubt about it. But in the last few years, he's been with the Flyers. And look at these point totals last few years. 16 in his rookie year, or not his rookie year, but his first full pro season or first full season in the NHL. Made a 30-point jump to 46 points the next year, dropped down to 41, and now he has 25 points in 49 games, one goal in two games with the Flames. I 27th overall pick in 2017. I know 2017 was a little while ago, but still, I would give a little bit more time for Frost. He's only 25 years old. And for Farabee, I think Farabee is one of the most underrated players in the league. I'm a big Joel Farabee fan. And again, he's young too. He's 24, and in 50 games with the Flyers, he put up 19 points. Those are Kuzmenko numbers, so I, I don't know, but I will say this. I will say this. I understand where Philadelphia is coming from, wanting to pair Michkov and Kuzmenko. It could work. Two Russian forwards, maybe they have experience with each other. Kuzmenko, before he came to Vancouver, he's only 28, but before Kuzmenko came to Vancouver, he played almost a decade in the KHL. So and of course, that's where Mitch Goff was coming from as well. So, maybe they have some ties. Maybe Philadelphia's front office knows something that we don't know. But on the surface, I don't love this trade for the Flyers. I love it for the Flames, though. Good for them. They continue to retool.
Yeah, the Flyers are also getting Jacob Pelletier, first round pick from 2019, left shot, left wing, 23. I mean, he's got how 24 plus 48. He's got 61 games in the league so far across 3 seasons, 23 points. So, yeah, brutal. Brutal for Philadelphia. But hey, good on Calgary for taking advantage here.
I do like Peltier, though. Peltier, however you say that. But I do like him, but still a deal lopsided in favor of Calgary.
Oh yeah. And I don't know if anybody listening has noticed, but we're putting it nicely here.
Yeah, yeah, we are. But again, I do not want to not state that Kuzmenko could go to Philadelphia and put up 80 points. He could. He maybe not this year, maybe not at this point in the season, but he could put up, 45 to 55 points. And that would be really nice for the Flyers who are trying to make the playoffs. So it could click. It could click, but I don't love it. So that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, no, I don't even like this trade. But hey, it makes the Flyers worse, so sign me up.
I liked Kuzmenko in his first year with Vancouver. I remember he put on one of the most nasty moves I've ever seen against our beloved New York Rangers in his rookie year. Just gross. I got to go back and find the play. And I was like, this kid's pretty good. So
I was at the Rangers Blues game where Tarasenko did the pullback on. Yeah, I was there. Had great
you were there
seats.
for that one.
Oh yeah, I had phenomenal seats too. Like a picture perfect view from the other
But
side of the
then,
rink.
but then, uh, Tarasenko came to the Rangers, and didn't he do the same thing? Didn't he pull off the same move?
Think so. It just
Um,
it still hurts that, I was at that fucking game.
did you get the popcorn that game?
Uh no, that preceded the popcorn.
That preceded the popcorn. Gotcha.
Very much preceded the popcorn by a couple years.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, I saw your face. What was going on there? What happened? Did
Oh,
news break?
no, no news broke. I was checking out that Kuzmenko assist. I mean, it was just yeah.
All right, well, we got to get to him, and we've reached them. JT Miller is once again a New York Ranger with a trade with the Vancouver Canucks, and trying to remember everything off the top of my head is going to be a challenge, but let's see if I can do it. Rangers acquire JT Miller alongside current AHL defenseman Eric Brandstrom, along with one other piece that I am not remembering off the top of my head, but the Rangers give up Filipino, a 2025 protected, top 13 protected first round pick, and Vincent Mancini.
Yes, sir. The official trade, just because I have it right in front of me. JT Miller to the New York Rangers with Eric Brandstrom and Jackson Dorrington
That's what I
for
forgot.
Filipino, like you said, defenseman Victor Mancini and a 2025 protected top 13 first round pick, which was then subsequently flipped to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Yeah.
But Shades, before we get into the trade,
Yeah, one trade at a time.
JT Miller is a New York Ranger again. How about that?
Yeah, didn't think I would see it happen,
Yep.
but here
I
we
mean,
are.
he got traded to Tampa Bay during the 2018 year, and that's when the Rangers were going through their rebuild, right? And once he got to Tampa Bay, he had a nice
Actually,
season.
no, that was, yeah, 2017-18. He was part of the McDonough trade.
Yeah, part of the McDonough trade where we got Brett Howden and Vladislav Nemestikov, and
Yeah,
uh,
current Stanley Cup champion Brett Howden. Not with
yeah,
us. Kill me.
yes. But again, JT was a very good Ranger, and I just didn't think he fit the timeline when he got moved. We were going in a rebuild. We wanted to get younger, and that was clear as day by moving McDonough and Miller to Tampa Bay. And again, Miller didn't really last that long with the Lightning either. He joined the Canucks prior to the 2019-20 season, and then suddenly Shades from that point on up until the trade, he's really been a consistent 75 point to 90 point guy in this league. And that's who we wanted JT Miller to turn into as a Ranger. And you know what? He comes back a little bit later in his career. Better late than never, Shades. And he's looked fantastic since he's joined the team. But when the news first broke, what ran through your mind?
One, I was pissed we gave up on Heedle, that he
Mhm.
had to be included in this deal, but we weren't going to move him up because Laviolette just loved playing Mika at center on the first line, and they're both centers.
Yeah.
Two, another first round pick gone. Can't wait to see that bite us in the ass 6 years from now, because you know it will. And Mancini, I was just like, really? They kind of lack organizational depth on defense. I don't know why you're so willing to give up a young defensive prospect who showed promise. And on the other hand, we get Miller, who we initially got rid of him because he was kind of a pain in the ass in the locker room. Those problems have only gotten worse from apparently. So immediately I was just like, I don't know if I like this trade.
Yeah, I mean, I'll break down every part just like you did as well. I mean, I initially was most upset about Filipino, like you said, but then I thought about it a little bit, and I love Heedle. Like, and again, he's a homegrown guy, and he's supremely skilled. And that kid line was really like n watching nothing else when they were clicking together, even when it was Cooley without Kako after he had gotten traded. But the fact is that Filipino couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And the other fact was that the Rangers are not built to win 2 years from now or 3 years from now. They're built to win right now. And over the last few months, I've seen the Rangers really as lifeless and directionless. And again, when your captain gets traded, what does that do to your locker room? And you don't have a voice who's going to step up and say, "Hey, this play is not, we're not going to stand for this." And I understand that JT Miller's, locker room issues have gotten worse, but I only think he has locker room issues because he cares. And you know what? Like Elias Pettersson, like, could there be a little bit of complacency there after he had, like MVP caliber, first few years with the Vancouver Canucks, So for me, the Rangers needed some fire under their ass. And I don't think that that was the worst thing, bringing in JT Miller. The worst part of the trade for me is Victor Mancini. And I couldn't agree with you anymore. The Rangers really lack organizational depth. I mean, you really put it perfectly on defense. And Victor Mancini is a right shot D who had size, who joined the Rangers at the NHL level at the beginning of the year and was better than, I would argue, four of the defensemen that the Rangers were putting on the ice at that point. So that one hurts. But to be able to get JT Miller back, I think if we look back at this and we see JT Miller as a big reason why the Rangers were able to get over the hump, we're going to look at this trade as a steal. Yeah, another first round pick gone, but for me, organizational depth at defense is a struggle. But for me, the young forwards that this team has, I think we're in a comfortable spot. I think we have a superstar in the making in Gabe Perreault. I think fans have fallen out of love a little bit with Brennan Othman, but I still think that there is potential there. Brett Berard, I mean, still boggles my mind that he got, sent back down. So I do think that the Rangers have young pieces that can make an impact in the future. So the first round pick doesn't worry me that much. I will say this though, and we'll get to this, I know, in just a little bit, but it sucks that the pick has to go back to a division rival. But at the end of the day, I think the Rangers did well here. I did.
Yeah, I would at first I was like, okay, Drury got fleeced. Then, over the course of the night, I went, I don't know if he got fleeced, but at the same time, I don't think Vancouver did terrible here. I actually think they did okay in the end of all of this.
Well, I mean, Shades, I'll go back to what I said before, right, about Filipino. Unfortunately, and I don't love saying this, but Filipino's career could be over after any hit. You might as well move him while he has value. And if you can get a win now player in the process, then great. And also, I do want to mention this before we go, to the next topic. JT Miller signed a 7 year, $56 million extension with the Canucks, you know, that began during the 23-24 season. So he's locked in long term. And we just talked about the cap going way up. So, he's at an $8 million deal. So now the Rangers are built to win now, and in the future until that contract ends. And for me, I think this is what the Rangers needed. That's how I'll leave it. Good move. Sucks to give up who they gave up, but that's part of making deals in this league.
Yeah, I mean, if only, the Avalanche would have kept Rantanen before these cap numbers came out. Yikes.
There's that too.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, we touched upon that last episode, but
Right, right.
I mean, I feel like I have another thing or two to say about this.
Sounds good.
And that other thing I wanted to say is now we obviously acquired Miller to play first line center because we better have. Uh, the initial lineups so far through the two games he's been on the team, Panarin is up on the first line with him, and Zibanejad is up on right wing. And I just immediately see that and go, he really does not want to decrease Mika's ice time, does he?
Yeah,
Laviolette.
when I first saw it, Shades, I was I was pretty happy, to be honest. I kind of liked the lineup placement by Peter Laviolette. Um, I think Zibanejad being on the wing takes a lot of weight off of his shoulders, a lot less responsibility. He can show off his skill more that way. And JT Miller, I think, is a player who thrives playing down the middle. And his hard style of play, his relentless forecheck that he brings in, shift in and shift out, will result in opportunities for each player on the wing. So what it comes down to is, can Mika finish and can Breadman finish? And if they're set up adequately, I think they can. I know they can. So I think it worked really well. Again, against Vegas, I think you saw every single shift. JT Miller was involved, whether that's in the defensive zone, offensive zone, neutral zone. He obviously scores the first goal of the game against Boston in his first game back in north of 2,000 days with the Rangers. So I like the lineup placement. I would like to see eventually Lafreniere play with Miller. I think
Hmm.
that could be a nice combination. But Lafreniere has been so good with Trocheck. There's really a lot of different ways you can go because Trocheck and Miller played when they were youngsters. So you could put Miller on the wing to play with Trocheck. You could go Lafreniere and Miller. You could do Zibanejad, Panarin, and Miller like Laviolette's been doing. I think there's going to be a lot of time for the coaching staff to figure it out. But the first two games, it's worked.
So a little bit. Then I
Come
checked out the
on.
rest of the
They were
lineup.
impactful every single shift, Shades. That line. Did you watch Sunday's game? I understand about Saturday, but Sunday's game, they were involved every single shift. They were making something happen out there.
Well, that they were the best line by far. I still think the team looked like shit the first two periods against Vegas, but
I think they struggled defensively, but when I think, yeah, but again, they had their
Quick
chance.
kept us
Again,
in their game.
they were down one goal at the end of the second period against a really tough team. And they scored what, two straight, to go on and win that game. So I like it. I like the move. I'm
But
I'm not I'm not going to sit here and be critical of Drury. I'm not going to sit here and be critical of Laviolette. I think, and I'm not going to be critical of Miller either. He's got attitude problems. So what? I am a fan of somebody who's going to go in hard on the forecheck and finish his checks because the Rangers haven't had that all year. It's nice to see.
then I looked at the rest of the lineup and went, "What the hell are we doing here?" This is the a
Well, that
screenshot that my
was.
friend sent me last night before the game. That first line: Smith, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Kreider, Brodzinski, Cooley. That line made me want to throw up because why the hell are we switching Smith and Cooley all of a sudden, their positions from one wing to the other? And then Vesey, Carrick, Rempe, Edstrom is day to day at the moment. So the rest of the lineup I really don't love.
Yeah, with Edstrom day to day, it's always gonna mess some stuff up. Here's how I would do it. At the end of the day, I think the first and fourth line should really stay the same. So I would do Panarin, Miller, and Zibanejad line one. I don't think line four should ever, outside of an injury, line four shouldn't switch from Rempe, Carrick, and Edstrom. That's got to be your fourth line. And
I
then
feel
I
like you
think
can rotation in and out Rempe because he does take a lot of stupid penalties.
he's been better though. And he's been better. He's trying to fix that part of his game. But I do see what you're saying. For me, I totally agree with you with the placement of Riley Smith and Will Cooley. I think Laviolette wanted to try something, putting Cooley and Kreider together, which I get it,
Keep all the young players away from Kreider, please.
but Cooley is better, no doubt about it, with Lafreniere and having Trocheck in the middle. That's a solid second line. So then it's just all about figuring out that third line. For me, the answer with the Rangers is this: trade 55 and 20, get younger, and go. That's what I would
What
say.
I would love to see is a line of Cooley, Miller, and Lafreniere.
I would like to see that too. Yeah, and again, if we put Lafreniere on that line with Miller, Cooley's got to be the other line mate. That's a hell of a line.
Yeah, I mean, but only problem is if that does happen,
Then Mika is in no man's land.
outside of Panarin with Trocheck,
Yeah,
the rest of the lineup kind of stinks.
I think with where the
So
Rangers
yeah,
are
you're
right now,
playing a very fine line here.
yeah, with where the Rangers are at right now, I think you kind of have to keep it where it's at. I think Rempe can be an impactful player, but he's got to stop taking the stupid penalties, and that's why he just wasn't a player that you could put out there in a big situation in the playoffs. You just couldn't do it. VC, on the other hand, I'd love to see him get some more playing time. I don't get it. I don't understand why Jimmy VC has fallen out of favor. I really don't understand. He would be really nice on that third line, better than Kreider, in my opinion. How about you put Kreider and VC together on each wing, and then you just try somebody in the middle, like try something, something. Because guess what? If Jimmy VC is sitting on the bench, or if he's sitting in the locker room, or if he's in the press box, he's not playing, you do not have your best forwards out there. You do not have your best 12 guys out there. Put VC in the lineup, figure out a taker for Kreider, figure out a taker for Lindgren, and go. That's what I'd say.
Granted, I mean, VC isn't playing as good as he was last season. I mean, throwing a just
He's
calling
not.
a
He's
spade here.
not. I agree.
But
I agree.
but with some of the questionable, to put it nicely, lineup choices that we have seen this season,
Yeah.
why he's not getting minutes at all or into games, really, like you said, is just baffling.
It absolutely makes no sense. And
Same
I
thing
don't,
could be said about Zach Jones on the defense.
yes, you're really hitting the nail on the head right here. Zach Jones should be playing every single game. Jimmy
Over
VC,
Lindgren right now.
yes, and Jimmy VC should be playing. In my opinion, I think you should give him at least a 2, 3 week stretch to where he gets to play every night outside of an injury. Let's see what you got. Because again, if like I said before, if he's sitting in the press box, he provides you no value, and then guess what? He's going to get upset too, and then that hurts the locker room even more. And we're trying to fix that. We're trying to change that, right? We're trying to alter the culture, make things a little bit better, a little bit more welcoming, a little bit more positive. And I think VC, again, just not suiting up is just not the answer. You don't have one of your best 12 guys out there on the ice. I think the Rangers are getting close, but they're doing themselves a real disservice with 6 and 26 not playing.
Yeah, and also you have Brett Berard toiling away in Hartford right now, and he has arguably looked the best outside of, well, Kako and Heedle are no longer on the team, unfortunately. But outside of those
Yep.
two and Cooley, he was probably your best bottom six forward. And now, arguably, with those two gone, like I just said,
Yep.
if you put him in, he arguably becomes your second best bottom six forward. So I don't get it. Like I understand wanting to give a young player minutes, but you're hurting your active NHL lineup by having him in the minors.
Yep. Yep. 110%. And Berard added some real nice energy for the Rangers. I would love to see Bedard, or not Bedard. Jeez, I'd love to have Bedard. I'd love to see Berard on the wing with VC, and it goes back to what I said earlier in the episode, right, about that report that I read on Twitter that the Rangers are in search of a third line center. It makes sense. You have Carrick down the middle, fourth line center. I think he is a perfect fourth line center.
He's been good. He's been
Gritty,
good.
wins face-offs. Again, he's helping along two young players. Your third line is empty right now, like you said. It was Johnny Brodzinski and Kreider and Cooley,
Yeah,
and
Cooley
it's
on
just
his off
not
wing.
the third line is just not it right now. So it needs to get figured out. But your second line, okay, Trocheck and Lafreniere and Cooley, like we talked about. And then you leave that top line the way it is. So I think the Rangers are a third line center away. They have to play their kids. And if it means trading away Kreider and if it means trading away Lindgren, it's a tough pill to swallow. But you know what also is a tough pill to swallow? Seeing Capo Caco go off in Seattle since getting traded. So I think the Rangers are heading in the right direction. Still more moves to make. Still not there yet, but
No, since
they're
now
they're
since we're
out of
bringing up,
that they're out
yeah,
of that hell that they were in for like the first couple months, I think.
well, we hope so. I mean,
We
it's
might
been a
not make
very
the playoffs, but I don't think that we're
it's
gonna.
it's been a very small sample size so far. So, I mean,
But it's the point
I
guy you're
hope
bringing.
I hope so. But since we were bringing up Brett Berard, I find it very curious how he has gotten NHL games over Brennan Othman, and Othman was at one point in time our most highly sought after forward prospect. And we also have Adam Sikora down there who's 20. But the only issue that I could see this team running into is say we do trade Kreider and we do force those kids to come up, and all of a sudden you have all your eggs in the basket on the NHL team, and they're underperforming, and all of a sudden you have to add somebody from the outside because you put all your eggs in the basket, like I just said.
Right. I mean, for me, in terms of Othman, I think it kind of versus Berard, I think it comes down to what type of players they are. And I think Othman, if he's in the league, I think he's a top line guy or a top two line guy. And I think Berard
Hopefully.
is one of, hopefully, yes. But I think one of, Berard is one of those players that's spark plug kind of guy, can go anywhere in the lineup. And not as highly touted as Othman is. So I think that has something to do with it. Othman's only played 20 games in the AHL this year,
Yeah, he was
40,
injured for a while.
6 goals, 8 assists. So he's still, still picking up his game a little bit there. But had a really solid first season in the AHL, 49 points in 67 games. So we know it's there with Othman. But it doesn't really surprise me that Berard got the nod before him, because I just think his playing style lends more to what the Rangers need or needed before they sent him right back down, which is still very disappointing.
Yeah, still questionable. And since this conversation started with Jimmy Vesey, we have to come right back around to him because
Yeah.
he was the second person to basically speak out on the team, if not the third this season, albeit he's the only one still on the team. But he basically said, I'm toiling away here. Why am I not getting minutes? Like, why am I here?
I'd love the press to ask the head coach that. I'm not sure if they have yet.
See, part of this leadership group, like they have plans for certain players, and then other players. What are we doing here?
What plans have we had for any players, really?
Great question. Besides Panarin and
It
Trocheck, that I can't. I don't know.
kind of seems like the Rangers have been throwing things at the wall, hoping that they stick the last few years, eh?
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like there's too much planning. It's just like, all right, let's try this, and I'm just like, and I'm just
Sure, sure. Let's try this. Yeah. Yep, I guess. Um, One more note on the Rangers, just I'd be remiss if I did not mention this. Came down in the last hour or so. Urho Vakanainen will join Team Finland for the Four Nations tournament. So cool little note there.
sweet. I
On
was. Did they mention this during the Vegas game or the game before? How there's only like 12 or like 11 or 12 Finnish defensemen in the NHL?
hmm, that's interesting.
I thought I heard that. Don't quote me on that, but as soon as I heard that, I went, wow, that little? It must suck
Let's
to
see.
be left off the Four Nations roster then, because
Let's see what Finnish defenseman I can come up with off the top of my head. Rasmus Ristolainen, New York Rangers legend Nico Mikkola, Miro Heiskanen, Urho Vakanainen. How about you go back to Dallas, Esa Lindell, Juuso Valimaki with the hockey club. Ready for this name? How about Ville Heinola, former first round pick with the Jets? Marcus Nudavara as well with Columbus. Who else? Oh,
as soon as you go into nationalities, I don't know shit.
I'm I'm struggling past there, to be honest. But
Hey, you
yes,
did
not a
pretty
lot
good.
in the NHL. I think I did pretty good too. I mean, here's an article. The best Finnish player of all time. Who do you think it is?
Oh, crap.
Oh, you're not good with nationalities.
No,
Oh,
I
here we
am
go.
not. I am not. I was gonna say Forsberg, but I'm pretty sure he's Swedish.
Timu Solani and Yari Curry are both
Team,
Finnish.
forgot about that. Good names, good names.
I'll go with Vakanainen and took us through. Look at that. But yeah, back to the Rangers. It's nice to see the Rangers pick up a big time player in JT Miller, but I think we can both agree when I say there are still things to figure out. Still a lot to figure out with this team.
Oh,
Right.
there's still many moves that need to be made because I mean, we've said it over the course of the season. We've mentioned all the problems. We know who's still here. We know who's gotten shipped out. Some of them have not been problems, but they needed to be shipped out to address other issues, which just opened up more holes.
Yeah. Yep, right on.
But for the love of God, just get it together.
Well, we got what's our next game coming up here? They face Boston on Wednesday night at home.
Yeah,
Should
I
be a
believe
fun game.
so. We play Pittsburgh as well. And what is the other game before the Four Nations break? It is the Blue Jackets.
There you go.
So two and, or excuse me, 1-2 so far.
We'll see how it goes.
Or wait, hold on. Penguins, Blue Jackets, 1-1 so far. Excuse me, for the 5 games before. Okay, now we can get back to the other side. Vancouver made a subsequent trade after this JT Miller trade, and that was acquiring Marcus Petterson from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I saw that and I immediately went, oh, that's actually a good pickup for them. Which goes
Uh,
back to my point. I don't think Vancouver did too terrible here.
yeah, no, I can't agree with you.
Okay, really?
I I cannot. No. I have no idea why Vancouver would trade that first round pick. I have no clue. I like Marcus Petterson. I don't like him for a first round pick. Drew O'Connor is a nice player too, but if you look at what Vancouver gave up, I mean, the first round pick I think is just too much by itself. But you give up Danton Heinen as well, Vincent Desharnais, who's a big body defenseman. Again, two players that have been around the league for a little while, and a forward prospect. Again, but I'm just saying that's four assets for two players. I don't know. If you're going to get a first round pick back from the JT Miller trade, I am hanging on to it. But also at the same time, it's not as valuable because it is a top 13 protected pick. And, there's a very good chance that, there is a decent opportunity rather that the Rangers could be in the top 13. So that could be moved to another season. But for me, when I first saw it, I didn't love it, to be honest. But Pedersen and Drew O'Connor are longtime Penguins. So that had to be a tough move for Pittsburgh. But to get a first round pick for a rebuilding team, that's a no brainer.
Yeah, and they're hoping that Pettersson could be Quinn Hughes' defense partner, shore up that first line.
Yeah, but again, I feel like by trading JT Miller, wouldn't you agree? By trading JT Miller, I think Vancouver has kind of accepted that maybe this season is not the year where they're going to go all in for a Stanley Cup. Marcus Petterson and Drew O'Connor are both unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. So to give up a first round pick for two unrestricted free agents when you just traded away one of your top three players on the team, unless you re-sign Pedersen and then he can become that defensive partner, like you said, for Quinn Hughes, then I guess that's okay. But this trade, I just don't. I'm just not in love with it.
Well, they're currently 2 points out of a playoff spot, and as we've seen in the West the last few years, it's kind of gotten a lot more wide open than it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Right, right.
Because really the only consistent playoff teams have been, well, I mean, it's been Winnipeg, it's been Dallas, it's been Edmonton, and it's been Vegas, and obviously Colorado. The other three, it's kind of been up for grabs.
Yep. I do think that there is a spot to jump into, right, in the Western Conference, in the playoff picture for Vancouver. So they definitely could sneak in. But I'm just saying, go trading away JT Miller, getting back a first round pick, and then immediately trading a first round pick seems like an all-in move to me. Like, and again, not if you're going to trade away Miller, I think you should look to go younger and you acquire Hedel and you acquire Mancini. But instead of going younger with a draft pick and holding on to it, you decide to get older. Philadelphia and Vancouver, what are you guys doing?
Heh. Funny enough, Pettersson's, I think, what, 3 years younger than Miller?
Pedersen
28.
is Patterson's 28, so again, like been in the league for a little while. And also the forward prospect Melvin Fernstrom, who was sent to the Penguins, he was very highly regarded in the 2024 draft this past summer. So there's a lot of assets going to Pittsburgh here in this trade. Um, but I know Pedersen is no slouch, no doubt about it. He's a top 4D man on a contending team, which is I think what Vancouver was looking at.
Oh yeah, that they obviously filled one of their holes there. And now the question for Vancouver becomes, I mean, we sort of touched on it. earlier in the episode. Did they trade the wrong guy?
When you talk about Pedersen versus Miller,
Yes.
um, it's really tough, right? Because Pedersen's making $11.5 million, I believe. That's his cap hit this year. Um, and now, by the way, with the addition of Marcus Petterson, you now bring in a third Petterson to the Canucks. There's
Just
two a lot.
imagine Sam Rosen.
Yeah, right. My goodness. But Pedersen this year, 33 points in 46 games. But again, he put up a 102 point campaign just a couple of years ago. So you know he has it, former fifth overall pick. Um, it's a tough choice, but I do not think that they traded the wrong guy. I think with the way the cap is going up, I think they made the right move here. And you want to bring in the 20, and you want to keep the 26-year-old more than you want to keep the 30-year-old. So,
Yeah, 30 or 31.
JT Miller is 31. But again, yeah, 5-year difference though, right? So the cap is a little bit better for JT, but with the cap going up, I think Vancouver would not be smart to not build around Pedersen, Hughes, and Demko. That's their route to a cup. Those
Yeah,
three.
Petterson, like you said, still only 26. I mean, this year is a little bit of a down year, but he has been pretty consistent since he stepped into the league in 2018-19.
Yeah. Yeah, he has. He's been 65, 70 point guy. And then he had that huge jump during the 2022-23 year and then kept it
102.
going last year with 89 points. So this is a very good hockey player, no doubt about it. I don't think this was too tough of a choice for Patrick Alvin.
No, no. All right, but I actually like that we're on differing sides for once. I think they came out okay in all this. You think they got kind of killed.
Yeah, um,
Maybe because I'm just kind of looking at it on the surface. They basically got rid of Miller and got Hedel, Mancini, and Pettersson. And I'm just like, if you're going to lose a player of JT Miller's caliber and you're going to get two, like, a legitimate top four defenseman, arguably a top pair guy, and a young 25-year-old player who has shown legitimate promise and could legitimately be a top six center,
his
given,
career could be over at
yeah,
any moment.
yeah, given, more ice time, and a young, nice prospect in Mancini, who got drafted 3 years ago, by the way, already playing NHL games, and when he was playing for the Rangers, looked pretty good and not out of place. I think he did okay.
I'll look at the other side of it, playing devil's advocate, right? I think if the Canucks wanted to win a Stanley Cup this year, I think JT Miller was going to be a part of that equation. I don't give them much of a chance at all. I'll be happy to eat my words if they go on a huge run here and win the Stanley Cup, but I just don't think that it's in the cards. The fact that Pedersen and O'Connor are both unrestricted free agents, I don't love. Mancini, like I said, was a good pickup, and Filipito's career could be over at any moment.
Although
So I
knowing the Rangers' luck, he'll stay healthy and put up and become like a consistent 70-point guy.
Of course, right?
Then I'm really gonna want to kill Drury.
Yeah, right. Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say that Vancouver got killed here. But I think if I'm a Canucks fan, I'm a little bit confused by all of this. And they're not happy to give up JT Miller either. Like you asked that question and I gave you a pretty firm answer that they did not trade the wrong guy. But if you ask Canucks fans, percentage of them would probably say, hell yeah, we traded the wrong guy. So I think there's just a lot going on with that organization right now and a little bit of uncertainty. And I don't think their year to win the Stanley Cup is necessarily this year. And I think that's because of the moves that they've made this past week. And it's hard to bounce back from a rift in the locker room between two of your top guys. It's hard, especially hard for the head coach, definitely hard for the general manager and for the upper management as well. I like Mancini. Like I said, he has the potential to be a top pair guy. Even Joe Micheletti said that last night. They do give up Burnstrom, who is, a pretty highly touted prospect, and they trade away that first round pick again for two players who are set to be unrestricted free agents. But if Hito can stay healthy and if they can re-sign Petterson, then we can have the conversation. But for me, I not a fan for
See, I
Vancouver.
kind of fell out of favor with Brandstrom 2 or 3 years ago because he was pretty much the centerpiece in the Mark Stone to Vegas trade,
Yeah.
and holy crap, did Vegas fleece Ottawa in the long run.
They did.
That was a
Um,
straight up Brandstrom and a second for Mark Stone, and Brandstrom did not live up to the hype.
15th overall pick in the first round, in the 2017 NHL entry draft with Vegas. 2017 NHL entry draft. So the one of the first picks that Vegas ever had in their
Yeah.
franchise's history was Eric Brandstrom. Had a good year in the AHL for 28 points in 41 games with Chicago in 2018-19, but since then it's been tough. But I like the Rangers taking a flyer on this guy though. 25 years old. We'll see. He's not Mancini, but maybe he'll turn into something.
Yeah, I mean, I still think we lost the depth battle there. I think Mancini's going to turn out to be a much better player.
We'll see. I mean, if we look at Mancini's numbers before the trade, right, with Hartford, I mean, he's only 22, so 3 years younger. So that's definitely a big deal.
Yeah.
He's 6'3", 230 pounds. That's a big boy. He had 10 points in 23 games with Hartford. So
For a
yeah,
defenseman on
that's
Hartford, that's pretty good.
that's solid. Yeah, for sure. Played at the University of Nebraska Omaha for 4 seasons. Um, and now he's in Abbotsford, so he has not joined Vancouver, so he's in the AHL with Abbotsford to start things off. So, but hey, not bad for a former fifth round pick that you're able to move as one of the big pieces in a deal that gets you a 100-point guy. So,
I Part of me really does not want Mancini now that we traded him to turn into another Morgan Barron, which I was pissed when we got rid of him because look at what he developed into on Winnipeg.
right.
We could use him right now, but totally different circumstance.
Even Neil Pionk, too. Uh, the Trouba trade. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. Why do all of these come back to bite us in the ass?
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm amazed we got that done as quickly as we did.
Well, let me give you a quick note just on that last topic of conversation. It's not a hockey note necessarily, but it goes along with what you were saying. It's just so important in professional sports to stay patient and to put yourself in a position to strike because you never know who is going to become available. Luka Doncic just got traded last week.
I
Luka
saw that.
fucking Doncic just got traded.
Hey, that's a
And
basketball reference for you people.
a basketball reference. And the Lakers were in a position where they had a superstar player that they were able to move on from to bring in arguably the best youngest talent in the National Basketball Association. So sometimes it's the moves that you don't make and just staying the course. And I think when you look back at the Trouba deal and the Barron deal and a couple of other trades that the Rangers have made, perhaps exercising some patience would have done them well. But now like you said, Shades, I think you put it well. We're getting close to the trade deadline here, and the Rangers are looking for a third line center who provides size and wins faceoffs. Well, Morgan Barron is 6'4", 220 pounds. He plays center, he wins faceoffs, and he's 26 years old. So when you say that we could use Morgan Barron right now, we could. So
Yeah, I mean, we arguably do need another depth winger because I don't know if people realize we're kind of thin there.
yeah, center, center. Let's get a guy who can win some faceoffs, and wish Brian Boyle can just like de-age like 12 years and come back and center the third line. That'd be nice.
I would take 2013-14 McDonough back in a heartbeat.
Brian Boyle is 40 years old. Yeah, yeah, just rewind the clock, 12 years. 28-year-old Brian Boyle. Man,
I
that guy,
mean, we do need a third line center, but we also do need another winger, and we definitely need another defenseman. So,
a lot of work to do for Chris Drury. We'll see what he comes out with.
yeah, and I, remember how we were doing our free agency episode a ways way back when, and you were saying you're scared?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am terrified right now
All right.
because we
Got
just got rid of two very good young players. One of them is balling out on Seattle right now. Another one looks like a legitimate defenseman in this league. And the third one, albeit injury prone, was probably your best bottom six forward. because he wasn't getting more ice time. So we'll see.
We'll see how the cookie crumbles. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite type of cookie for our fans?
I was gonna make the Costco guys double chocolate chunk
Oh,
cookie
please
reference,
stop. Please
but
stop.
chocolate chip cookie.
Chocolate chip cookie.
Oh yeah. And I'm not really picky either. Homemade, Chips Ahoy,
Hmm.
bakery. I'm not
Chips
really that picky.
Chips Ahoy, do you go with the chewy or do you go with the crunchy?
Crunchy.
Crunchy. I go
Although I
with
do like the chewy though. You know,
that. Yeah, chewy's good
crunchy,
too.
crunchy little dip it in milk for a couple seconds. Oh, you're in heaven.
Mm-hmm. That
Absolute heaven.
moistens up a little bit, and my favorite cookie is a red velvet cookie.
I do enjoy red velvet cake and cupcakes.
Yes. Working with the team, we have our booster club that supports the team by feeding them after a majority of the games. And every single time, wherever they cater from, they bring in these cookies. And these red velvet cookies are just unbelievable. So, you tell us in the chat what your favorite cookie is. Am I weird for liking red velvet? Is Shades weird for liking chocolate chip?
No.
I think it's a little weird that it doesn't matter where you get it from. I will judge you there.
Well, all I have to say on that is this: a good chocolate chip cookie is a good chocolate chip cookie.
But you're saying that all chocolate chip cookies are good chocolate chip cookies. Have you ever had a bad chocolate chip cookie?
Probably along the course of time, yes. I remember one time I ate the worst slice of pizza in my life and had track practice after in high school.
Can we talk about the story? What happened?
Okay, so we got free pizza one
Not the
day.
aftermath, but just getting the pizza.
So we
Like,
got free
what
pizza
happened?
one day,
Okay.
and I took one bite and was just like, this tastes terrible. This is going to be a mistake. It was a mistake because I was feeling it that entire track practice.
Something about like a whole bunch of cheese before a track practice just
Well,
doesn't.
it just was not a good slice of pizza at all. Like that was top two worst slices of pizza I've ever had. The other one being from the local 7-Eleven by me.
Hey, do you live in New York? Why would you ever go to a 7-Eleven for a pizza?
Oh, because it was midnight and I was starving.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But never doing that again. Probably just gonna stick to a donut or something. Or fruit snacks like I usually get from 7-Eleven. So
Ooh, fruit
can never
snacks.
go wrong with those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You ever try the what's the what's the little chicken thing that they have at 7-Eleven? It's
Oh,
like that mystery meat. It's like a chicken stick or whatever.
I think I know what you're talking about. I have not tried those.
It's not real chicken, by the way.
It's 7-Eleven, I can imagine. It's been a minute since I've had a slushie though.
Ooh, slushy is slushy's where it's at.
It's been a couple years.
It's been a couple of years for me too. I mean,
Yeah, more like several for me.
the brain freeze are it's not fun.
No, no, brain freezes suck.
All right, Jades, I'm going to give you one more question just because we have a little bit of time.
Hit me.
Just for our fans. We're just going to go non hockey. Favorite slice of pizza. So like you're going to a pizza place and like they have every single slice under the which one are you going to choose?
I got two go-tos, and it depends on the pizzeria.
And what are they?
So the local pizzeria right up the block, even though it's technically like 2 blocks over, but it's basically right up the block. Barbecue chicken slice from that place. And then another one about a mile away, chicken bacon ranch.
Ooh,
Or they're Sicilian.
I see you as a Sicilian type of guy.
And their Sicilian slice is very good.
Hmm. What's the most important part of a pizza? Cheese, sauce, or bread?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Because say, like, if you are getting like a chicken bacon ranch, there's not really going to be too much sauce there. But the
Yeah.
Sicilian is like it's all sauce. At least from this place, because they do sort of like an upside down edition, but It's not like a regular upside down. It's like straight up. It's so good.
I miss New York pizza being in Georgia. It's just not the same.
Let me
But
know when
we
you're
have those
back
New
up
York
here.
pizza in the house, though.
Me, and Brendan are gonna get together just to go get pizza.
That would be great. I would fly up just for that. But thanks for taking part of my questionnaire.
All right. Now, real last question before we go. Favorite type of pie? You're gonna kill me for this.
Favorite type of pie?
You're gonna kill me for this.
I would go buffalo chicken, but what say you?
Pumpkin.
Oh God. Okay. All right. This has been episode 70 of Pucks and Brews. I am not your host. There's the door. There's the door. Get out. Horrible.
I told you were gonna kill me for this. This has, in fact, been episode 70 of Pucks and Brews. As always, Liam just gave himself, well, for the second straight episode, gave himself a pretty good exit. Before I go, please do me and Liam a favor. Whatever platform you're listening on or watching, if you're watching on YouTube, click like and that subscribe button helps us out a lot. I have been your host, Michael Shade Sparacino. Follow us on our socials if you want in the description below. And we'll be back for episode 71 of Pucks and Brews. Hopefully after the Four Nations tournament, unless shit goes crazy again. So, yeah. Okay, bye.